and is a time when the family is together, when there's a special meal on Friday evening and the family relaxes around the dinner table and sings Sabbath songs, and then goes to synagogue or temple to attend worship services with the community. But the Sabbath is also a time for study.
The three festivals, the Passover, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles, continue to be kept in the synagogue and the home, and they remained joyous occasions. The first of these three annual feasts is the spring Passover festival. In ancient times, Passover marked the beginning of the barley harvest, and it also was the anniversary of the Exodus from Egypt. In ancient days, the pilgrims in Jerusalem on Passover would sacrifice and eat the paschal lamb in grateful remembrance of these events. The Last Supper of Jesus is generally regarded as having been a Passover meal. The Passover festival lasts for a week, and in memory of their forefathers' plight, Jews are commanded to eat only unleavened bread, which takes the form of wafers. The Feast of Weeks occurs 50 days after Passover. In temple times, this agricultural festival celebrated the first fruits of the early summer, and the pilgrim brought an offering to the temple from the wheat harvest. The Feast of Weeks falls on the date traditionally linked with the giving of the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai, so the feast is also known as the Feast of the Giving of the Law. The third of the three main pilgrimage festivals occurs in the fall, when the harvest has been gathered. It's called the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles. This was the most joyful of the three festivals. It received its historical symbolism by commemorating the 40-year wanderings of the children of Israel in the wilderness. During that time, the Israelites lived in tent-like booths or tabernacles. Jews, during this festival, live in booths constructed in their gardens or on the balconies or roofs of their houses.
Those are the very joyful experiences. Now we have solemn occasions too in Jewish life. The holiest days of the year are Rosh Hashanah, the religious New Year, and 10 days later, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, in the fall of the year. And these are the times when the focus is not on the home as it is in the other holidays, but on the synagogue or the temple, when Jews gather to ask God's forgiveness for the sins of omission or commission of the past year, and to seek to begin a new year with a clean slate. Now those are the major solemn occasions and festivals that we celebrate, though I have to add that Hanukkah, which is the only holiday we celebrate that is not based in Hebrew Scriptures, has become a major holiday, probably because it is at the same season of the year as Christmas, but it is a time for joy and celebration based on a wonderful story of the first victory for religious liberty in recorded history, found in the Apocrypha in the first and second books of Maccabee. And then we celebrate Purim, which again is a minor holiday because it isn't found in Torah, but is found in the Hebrew Scriptures, that celebrates again the emancipation of Jews from the tyranny of a despot who would destroy us.
When the Jews were in Persia, an enemy rose against them, and the queen was a Jewish queen, and she helped and saved her people at that time. We have a big celebration. Kids get into costumes then, and all kinds of cavorting goes on, and they have a great, great time. They love it.
Freedom is a theme that enters into all of these major holidays. The aspiration to be free to worship the one God and to live at peace as a community.
The second cycle of special Jewish occasions consists of the milestones in family life. These milestones start with marriage, which in Jewish tradition has two main purposes: procreation and companionship. Weddings can be held anywhere, but the synagogue is a favored venue. The ceremony is held in the open air if possible, to recall God's promise to Abraham that his progeny would be as numerous as the stars. At the Jewish marriage ceremony, a canopy is held over the couple to symbolize the home that they are about to establish. After marriage, the next event in the family cycle is the birth of a child. Adam and Eve were ordered by God to be fruitful and multiply, and this was seen by Jews as the first of the commandments. If the child is a boy, a circumcision ceremony takes place 1 week after birth. Among young Jewish couples today, there is a growing custom to hold a name-giving feast also for a daughter.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu.
On reaching the age of 13, a Jewish boy is seen as an adult, and he becomes responsible for his own deeds and religious observance. Only since the Middle Ages has this been the occasion for a special ceremony. But now the Bar Mitzvah has become one of the central events in the Jewish life cycle. In the 20th century, a parallel ceremony has been introduced for girls at the age of 12, called the Bat Mitzvah. Jewish laws of mourning are detailed. Burial should occur as soon as possible, a practice reflecting Judaism's origin in a hot climate. Orthodox Jews oppose cremation because they believe that it denies the possibility of bodily resurrection, but cremation is permitted in Reform Judaism. Since life is so precious, Jewish tradition says that death must not be precipitated by euthanasia or by the smallest action that may hasten death.
Overall, the basic ethical principle is that if a human life is at stake, any other law falls to the side. And saving human life takes precedence over everything. There are only 3 prohibitions that are higher than preservation of life. That is, you can't do these things even if it means somebody else dies. And that's committing incest, committing murder yourself, or idolatry. But anything else, the preservation of life takes precedence.
From the Mosaic Code, the rabbis have derived 613 commandments for the Jew to observe. As we have seen, many of these relate to the synagogue and family life, to feasts and to fasts. Hundreds of the commandments relate to the temple ritual and to agricultural life in ancient Israel, and these have been unused for almost 2,000 years. But other commandments affect every corner of everyday life. The most obvious are the dietary or kosher laws. Many kinds of animals are totally forbidden, including shellfish and any form of pig meat. There are basic rules for the ritual slaughter of animals to ensure a quick and humane death. Other rules prescribe how to properly draw off the blood, which is seen as the seat of life. The rabbis also derived from the Bible a ban on eating milk products together with meat products. The link to the Holy Land is a vital strand of Judaism. It was integral from the very outset in the covenant between God and Abraham. The religious quality of life in the land of Israel was seen as superior to life elsewhere. Not only could more of the commandments be observed there, in Israel, and especially in Jerusalem, the Jew saw himself as being closer to God's presence.
Jerusalem represented the place where God's presence was felt. You could, quote, see God, but you could feel it there like you feel it nowhere else in the world. It represented the high point, in a certain sense, of Jewish history. King David, King Solomon, a marvelous time. And it has always been the symbolic, spiritual center of the Jewish people. We went away from Jerusalem. We will come back to